Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast powered by Cineman. I'm Young Gruff, and as always, I'm joined by Lachlan Teely.
On episode 165, our headlining news for this week is a mixture of trailers, A24, and gaming? Wait, no, this is a movie podcast, Ewan. I think you might be mistaken.
Yeah, well, you gotta tell that to Netflix, I guess. They have been going into a different direction, but we'll get into that in a second. I watched Taylor Swift's The Eras Tour movie. Yes, catch me. Like, even further descending into something else than movies. Then I watched the two Chicken Run movies, the new one as well, over on Netflix. And I caught up for the first time with Paddington 1 and 2. And, well, Lachlan hasn't watched anything beyond our main review of the week, but he's been eating lots of chocolate in preparation for it.
Yes. Finally, the underdog of the blockbusters this year. The film that everyone worried about its titular character and the type of portrayal we would get. Move aside, Paul Atreides. Timmy Boy is stepping into the wonderful shoes of Willy Wonka. That's right, Wonka released this week. You and I caught it, and we are ready to give you our thoughts on the chocolatey chocolate maker.
Yes, very sweet. So let's cue up the intro and get into the show. We are professionals.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes. Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there. Which actually,
did you
this
get
is
me
gonna
a hat
be
as
bit,
well?
Yes.
So I've got Dune Cam. It's just a camera with my Dune steelbook.
All right, welcome back. It's a busy
Hello.
week for trailers.
Yes.
So much stuff.
So much. So many. There's more, but there's a lot.
I'm gonna throw the ball to you, Lachlan. Which
Okay.
one of those like abundance of trailers do you want to talk about first?
Which one do I want to talk about first?
Yes.
Well, let's start with the one that I didn't have much hype about, and that's Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F.
Yeah.
Axel F.
Releases in summer 2024. I think it's the fourth Beverly Hills movie, and they don't want to name it Beverly Hills 4 because then people would feel like, oh, I gotta watch the 3 before.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like a franchise thing here. Eddie Murphy. I don't remember having seen any of them. Seeing this new trailer, I don't have any interest really. I feel like it's from a bygone era of these like buddy cops or one crazy cop does whatever type of era of movies that we got like 3 of them a year. I'm not really keen for this. Didn't really hit in the comedy department for me as well. So, I mean, I'll watch it because I'm a sicko, but I'm not gonna be excited about it. But yeah,
That's fair. I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm not excited for it, but I guess there are going to be other people who are wanting this and are craving this, but that's just not us. But you know what I am craving? Kung Fu Panda.
Kung Fu Panda, yes. Another 4. This time they went with the 4. They didn't go with Kung Fu Panda. This one's with the panda. Because that's in the title. Hey, that's Kung Fu. I don't know if you noticed. Yeah. I was never a fan of this franchise. For some reason, I always thought it was kind of stupid when I was like a, I don't know, teenager or even a kid. I looked down on it a bit more because I like Trek more, and this was like more the like, what is this? And I don't know if I've grown out of that. I'll probably give the first 3 a rewatch once this one comes up pretty soon, actually on March 8th. I can't say I'm excited for it, but I mean,
That's
you're
okay.
a huge Jack Black fan, so I assume
Yeah,
you'll eat it all up.
I actually haven't seen Kung Fu Panda 3, I believe. But actually, have I even seen Kung Fu Panda 2?
I
have
don't know
Kung
which
Fu
ones I've
Panda
seen.
1 very much close in my heart. I had a lot of fun with it when I was younger. Maybe I need to go ahead and watch the other few. No, I've definitely seen... No, that's a lie. That's still the first one. I'm thinking of a scene that takes place, and I'm like, no, that's definitely the first one. But yes, I will watch this just out of my pure childish excitement of watching animated animals do
Monkey.
Kung Fu. And one of them is Jack Black. He's not animated, he's just Jack Black.
They do kind of look the same, the panda. and
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
So,
but I hopefully it leads into something good.
Yeah.
If it doesn't,
Yeah.
there's if.
What a nice tie. If it doesn't, there's if. That's a nice tie over. Yes. The latest from John Krasinski after directing or making his debut with two, or did he direct both of? Yeah, no, he directed the second one as well. A Quiet Place, right? He's moving on into a different realm of imaginary friends with a star-studded cast here. Ryan Reynolds amongst them. Yeah, with imaginary friends. I don't know. It feels like it's not entirely just like a family movie, like a kids movie. Yeah. But I don't know how, like, where the line is going to be. It's probably going to be like a slightly scary movie for the younger audiences, and something that like the whole family can still enjoy. Like, that's the vibe I'm getting. What he's going for. It has a lot of like CGI stuff in it that you'd expect from someone who's like made a film that's been successful. Maybe not subverting the genre, but like having a successful twist on it. With A Quiet Place. And now he's getting a bigger budget to do like, an even wider appealing film. I'm mildly interested. I didn't like it. It didn't get hyped from the trailer, but how did you feel?
I'm not hyped either. I think that it is going to be probably more directed towards older kids. Similar to the movie Drop Dead Fred, which is a movie I remember watching when I was younger. And when I watched it when I got older, there was a lot of references I didn't get because there were some subtle jokes that only older people would understand. So I think
Ryan Reynolds is so good at doing subtle.
So good at doing subtle.
So subtle.
So I think it's going to be one of those. But my God, this IMDb page is still loading because there's that many people in this movie. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Emily Blunt, Ryan Reynolds, Matt Damon, Sam Rockwell, John Krasinski, Steve Carell, Vince Vaughn, Awkwafina, Sebastian Maniscalco, Fiona Shaw, Richard Jenkins. Oh my gosh, the list goes on, and Maya Rudolph. Like, oh my gosh, how many people can they squeeze in one movie? We'll never know.
I mean, until it's mainly with the voice, right?
Yes.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge is an actual character. Steve Carell, John Krasinski's, I think, also starring in it. But then, like a big name like Sam Rockwell or Matt Damon, or Vince Vaughn, they're all just like lending their voice to it.
Yeah.
And
brilliant.
Yeah, I think and like a lot of them have actually done some voice work before. They're quite proficient in it, so I feel like this will work, and you'll like constantly go like, "Hey, I recognize that voice from somewhere." Is it an imaginary friend, or is it someone who I've seen in 15 different comedies over the years?
But you don't wanna hope for too much because we've been burnt before. You know, we've been promised a voice cast that can do it, but they just don't deliver. But you know what probably will deliver? This next one that you've seen, The Promised Land.
Yes, Bastarden is the better title, but The Promised Land is the one that most people will see because that's the translated one. That's out pretty soon, on February 2nd, and it's hype if you like historic films and Mads Mikkelsen. It rules. It's actually,
I like it. Mads Mikkelsen, and what was the first one you said?
Like historical
stories. Yeah, I like it in that
stories.
order, not the order that you said.
Right, okay, that's fine. It's got like great performances. It's a fun like setting. Well, I wouldn't say it's a fun setting, but it's a great movie, so that's fun, but not the actual story that is fun. It's actually kind of depressing at times, but it was one of the highlights that I got to see at the Venice Film Festival, and hopefully it won't go under in the sea of films that are gonna release over the next couple of weeks. And I think that's like the reason why they dropped this like shortly before the holidays, because Hollywood is famously shutting down for a couple of weeks, usually in the middle of December until the new year. And I feel like they wanted to get the promotion for a bunch of stuff that releases early or the first quarter of 2024. They wanted to get that promotion out already. That's why we got so many trailers, including the next Alex Garland film, Civil War. Beau is Afraid is not like highest budget for an A24 film anymore. It's been taken by Civil War. This one, it's gonna cost them even more, and it's out on April 26th. So what did you make of what do you make of this trailer? Right?
So I
This-
actually
this
skipped the
politics.
trailer when I first saw it on my YouTube feed because I didn't know what it was and I didn't
Yeah.
seem interested. And then I saw it on the show notes, so I decided to watch it. And I'm incredibly hyped. That trailer was a bit iffy, but I saw Alex Garland's name come up, and then I saw another list of actors in there that I like, and it got me very, very excited. So, yes, this I'm keen to see.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was Jesse Plemons in another role where he's an antagonist. And there's just something about him that can really nail like a good antagonist. I haven't seen Kirsten Dunst in a while. I know those two. Aren't these two married? I think they're together. So that's interesting. If I might be off there. But yeah, Kaylee Spaney, who maybe some more people are gonna see now that Priscilla is out on VOD. Nick Offerman, fun cast, and Alex Garland, although he has like some movies that people are more mixed on, like Men. He always delivers something interesting, like Annihilation and Ex Machina. There was just so much to go off from. Although this seemed the most like, hey, this is the worst timeline of a current era, or like the current era in the States. Not really worldwide, but consider me interested, definitely. And in the last trailer here, Lachlan, you weren't sure if you even should watch this, because you don't want to see too much. Just the trailer maybe dilute some of your excitement for the film that got moved from last year, March 1st, Dune 2. But it's an incredible trailer.
Holy shit, I haven't watched a trailer that good in so long. I didn't want to watch it. I didn't want to watch the Dune trailer. I want to leave my expectations as they are, as low as they possibly can be. I don't want to go in there and expect this to be a cinematic masterpiece, but holy fucking shit, that trailer was a cinematic masterpiece, and I think this movie might just blow me away. I might have to see it every screening the day it releases.
Every single screening. Are you still planning to go to the IMAX, or have you used up your travel points?
I haven't used that credit yet,
delayed?
and I got a notification from my
Nice.
from the flight company, and they said that we're gonna extend it so that it doesn't expire.
Yeah.
And I was like, thank you, because it's going to expire at the end of this year, which is only a few weeks away. So I thank them for understanding. And obviously it was after back and forth
probably
about me telling them about my journey to go see Dune, and they didn't give a fuck. But I'm excited. I probably will still try to fly over to Melbourne and see it in IMAX, because or Sydney. The Sydney one's now open. There's now an IMAX in Sydney. Huge screen apparently. Big screen.
Yeah.
So that got me hyped, and maybe I'll go watch it. But man, that trailer was great. Oh my gosh.
You said like the music, right?
The music was
right.
incredible. That hit me so, like, I had like the hair standing up on my arm, just rising with that. It was just it's perfect. So I cannot wait to see this movie. I am incredibly hyped for it. I don't want to say that I'm overhyped for it. I don't want the hype to kill it, but what I will say is that this is the movie of the year. Right? Everyone's gonna watch this movie and go, "This is it." I can't wait to get the steelbook of it and just watch it.
Yeah.
I want to inject spice into my veins, which is probably just heroin. We're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also very hyped about it. I did want to get a book club going in our Discord. I think no one really has interest in that, unfortunately. But I do want to read the book. I get why you don't want to do that, maybe, because you'll be spoiled, and also Lachlan doesn't read. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe I can.
Want to. I just can't. You know.
Yeah, he just Yeah,
I just can't read.
I mean, you're living in it. You know, it's Dune. I don't know if if the audience knows this, but it is inspired by like the actual dunes of Australia. They have sandworms there as well. It's just like not something that's reported. And yes, they eat a lot of drop bears, is what I'm
I would love to go
I don't have good sources.
out to the sand dunes and watch Dune.
like on a huge.
That would be a great
projector
way.
somewhere.
That would be a great way of doing that.
Yeah, it'd be very fun. Yeah. But speaking of the most hyped films of 2024, Fandango did a poll
Oh.
with roughly like 8,000 people. So it's not like, it's always just like, a sample size, depends on where they get it. But Dune isn't at the top of that list, but we do get a ton of sequels. Lachlan, you wanna read through it from the bottom,
man,
top to bottom, bottom to top, whatever you want.
I'll go from number 10 to 1. So number 10 is A Quiet Place Day 1. 9 is Gladiator 2. I'm going to stop saying the number at the start because it's going to be going from like number and then number. So
many numbers in this, yeah.
Every single one of these every single one has a number in it, literally except for one of them. Okay, anyway. A Quiet Place Day 1, which, as a note, that one is spelt out, not the actual digit 1, spelt out, O-N-E. Gladiator 2, here's the one without the numbers in it. Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohirrim. There's no...
He's him. He's him.
Rohirrim? Yeah, whatever.
Rohirrim. Yeah, sure.
Inside Out 2. Despicable Me 4. Venom 3. Dune 2. Ghostbusters 4. Beetlejuice 2. And Deadpool 3.
This is depressing, right? I looked at this list. I was like, "What the fuck, man?"
I know you asked me to get my anticipated films for next year, but I'm just gonna go try to do it live and just see if there's any films that I'm excited for.
Copy paste.
That aren't a fucking. Well.
Yeah, look.
Oh, okay. Well.
Dune
okay.
and
First things
Gladiator.
first. It depends if it's going to be coming out, but there's Mickey 17.
That has a release date, I think, in April. It's pretty
perfect.
It's set to release. Yeah.
Nope. Furiosa. That's a sequel or prequel. Nosferatu. There's a good one. Nosferatu's a
adaptation.
Good one.
Yeah, but it's original.
The Fall Guy is not original. Oh my gosh, they're all not original ideas. The year for best original screenplay is gonna go to fucking If.
We'll see. There's a ton of movies, and we'll do like a proper, like, most anticipated of 2024 to give you like an overview of what's coming.
Oh, no, it's okay.
There's a ton
The
of stuff to be
Beekeeper.
excited about.
Oh, we're okay. It's okay, guys. We have an original.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I panicked for a second there. My heart is just pounding. Oh.
I think it is not surprising that I guess casual moviegoers wouldn't know that, like, hey, Alex Garland has a new movie coming out next year, and they wouldn't be like super hyped about that. You go with the bigger IP. It makes sense, but seeing it all spelled out in a list of like what general audiences care for, I don't know if they don't have this would actually be better journalism to have the list from last year. I don't know if like Barbie could make it on here or Oppenheimer, and I'm not seeing any of that for next year. And I guess we're also pretty sure. I guess they moved Avatar 3 to 2025. I think they've done that probably a while ago, but yeah, good to know. Also, those it's the first I think non-in-house VFX company that is unionizing. And I think that's like some headline that I saw just on the side note of Avatar 3, or like just Avatar in general. But yeah, that's that.
Hey.
Yes.
I've got it for you. I've done the journalism for you.
Oh, you found the one from last
23
year?
most anticipated. So it's got blockbusters from Fandango. So I guess it's pretty much the same one. So number 10 was the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Then you have Creed 3, The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1, Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, John Wick Chapter 4, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So what I've discovered is that from these two lists, the people that they're surveying must be in some sort of like mental institution, or possibly, I don't know, like alcoholics. There's a possibility that they are serial murderers. I don't understand where they got these 8,000 people from to survey this year, but it must be a very similar pool of people.
I mean, look, even on this year's list, you got like a Marvel movie at the top of it, and I think it's the only one that releases. I don't know if there's any other ones, and that's the top of the list with Deadpool 3. I think there's more excitement other than Guardians for like that franchise. I think people still quite like Deadpool. But like something like Beetlejuice 2 so high is really surprising to me.
Well, Beetlejuice is quite beloved, and also it's a really popular musical. And I think that there's been more and more love for it over the years. And also the hype of it's Tim Burton directing it, I'm pretty sure. And you've also got Jenna Ortega bumping into that as well. So you have got...
So it is TikTok.
Pretty much.
That's fair. I think it's pretty disgusting that Despicable Me is on here, number 4. I hate that franchise. I hate it so much. From my heart. But yeah. There's some news over from Letterboxd for the English speaking regions over the world on the Patreon side right now, if you're Patreon on Letterboxd. But I think on holiday, on Christmas, it's coming to all of the users. Are now able to see the Showtimes if it works correctly. Lachlan, you told me it didn't work for you, although you are in Australia. That's one of the markets where it should work.
I'm like loading it up now, and I think maybe when I tried it, it was probably crashing.
Because I saw it was working for me to look at yours, but it was like only two big multiplex theaters showed up. I don't know if all of the like smaller indie ones they got in there. But yeah, crazy Showtimes, man. Your theaters had like stuff every day from 10 to 10 with Showtimes, which is not really the case here. That's luxury.
For Wonka today, right? Here are all of the screenings for Wonka at the closest cinema to me. So 10 o'clock, 10:45, 12:40, 1:20, 3:20, 4 o'clock. Wait, this one's not even that crazy. Hang on. Damn. This one was crazier. Ready? This one got me. This was so funny today. When I was trying to find a session, I was like, I hope there's not like limited sessions for this movie. Nah, didn't have to worry.
15.
They're probably not gonna let me do it because of the... Okay, ready? Okay. Okay, get ready for this. Here are all the screenings of Wonka at one cinema near me tomorrow. Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm.
I hope you're... Can you please count? How many screenings?
All right. Yeah, no, I'm counting.
All right, ready? 9:45, 10:15, 11:45, 12:30, 12:45, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 2:30, 3:15, 3:30, 3:45, 4:45, 5:30, 6 o'clock, 6:15, 6:30, 7 o'clock, 7:30, 8:15, 8:45, 9 o'clock, 9:15. How many?
That's 22 screenings in one day.
20, and that's at one cinema. One. Ready? Okay, ready? The next biggest movie that released, The Boy and the Heron. All right, ready? Now listen to how many screenings there are of this one. Ready?
Okay.
All right, ready to count?
Yeah.
Okay. 6:30.
Uh-huh. That's it.
That's it.
Okay. Wonka's getting a wide release down under. That's crazy.
There's 2 screenings of Silent Night, but there's only 1 screening of The Boy and the Heron.
And
what world do we live in?
That is crazy. Yeah, Warner Brothers is just like, this theater is ours now. We claim it.
Claim it.
Yeah. Which is also like another thing why it turns out that like, most anticipated of 2024. Like, I don't know. It would be interesting to see how many Showtimes Godzilla is getting, because it's doing... I don't know if it's doing, like, well in Australia as well as it's doing in the States. I think it's doing fairly well here in Switzerland as well. So I don't know, because bigger studios do take more screenings, which, that they could have the capacity to have more audiences, but even if these movies bomb, they still are taking up the screen space for an entire week, because you book it out for a week. That's how That's how
Mm.
cinemas work. And yeah, they can't like quickly adjust it. On a sad note, we do have Andrew Braugher, who did pass away of lung cancer at age 61. The actor who really made for me like Brooklyn Nine-Nine what it is, and I think he'll be forever remembered as that really iconic role as Captain Holt. He was incredibly funny in that show. I know he's had like a lot of other stuff. I haven't seen him in a ton outside of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but I know he was in The Mist, and I've also seen him in Poseidon. But yeah, lost way too soon. He passed away due to lung cancer, so rest in peace. So A24 is in the news for a variety of reasons.
So many reasons.
One of them, one of the more exciting ones, is that a Death Stranding movie is in the works. Lachlan, you're the one who has actually played the game. From what's his name, Kojima. You've played 2.
I've played it twice.
It's actually. Oh, okay. So you're the one who hasn't played it just once, but twice. Actually making up for me not having played it.
Played it at all. Yep.
Yes, nailed that one. I did that. But yeah, Kojima said it's apparently like it works really well in a narrative sense. That he said there's like a ton of game adaptations, but this one really works in a cinematic way. So how close do you think they'll stay to the game? Is there like a story to adapt there that they go 1-to-1, or more in that like just universe overall? Where do you think they'll go?
Where do I think they go? I think it might be more of a 1-to-1, because while the concept of the Death Stranding is quite large, I think that the narrative of Death Stranding is in its drama. If you by any chance got to catch the Game Awards most recently, there was a number of controversies that came out about how the actual Game Awards were more of an advertisement friendly than they were actually an award ceremony. But there was also a moment where Kojima and Jordan Peele came out, because Kojima announced one of his new games, which means he's working on 2 games at the moment. This new one called OD with Jordan Peele, and his sequel to Death Stranding, because he's going to be doing a sequel to Death Stranding. And now there's this other one coming out where it's a movie adaptation of Death Stranding. Now, I would personally like to see Kojima direct the movie, because he is a fan of cinema, but he's a master at gaming. And Jordan Peele is like the opposite. They talked about it on stage, where he is a master of cinema and a fan of gaming, right? So the opposite. So Kojima has a passion for the narrative structures of films, and he intertwines that into his games, and it's very Kojima-y how he does it. But narratively, Death Stranding is really solid. Like, it has a really good amount of complex ideas, and I think it's really, really fun. I played it twice, and as tedious as that game can be, I played through it because I really enjoyed the narrative quite a bit. And it's the same with all of his games. Whether they go outside of that story, it would be kind of interesting to have something else, because I think the world is kind of cool. There's some beauty to it. I mean, you could probably shoot it in New Zealand because it's very stunning and it has a very beautiful landscape. And then the juxtaposition of the goo, the black tar that comes out of the ground is like such a beautiful opposition to the beauty of the landscape that's presented in that game. So there are so many awesome elements, both visually but narratively. I think Death Stranding would work as a movie, maybe like a 2-parter.
Well, I'm quite a 2-parter, yeah.
Like a Death Stranding 1 and like a Death Stranding 2.
Do you think they'll get like Norman Reedus to actually play the role of the character in here, or
that'd be cool?
Do they go with a different casting?
That'd be cool. I mean, again, that's one of the things that Kojima does. He gets people, especially with this new OD game. He's got scans of actors and actresses' faces in it. I can't remember the other 2, but I remember Hunter Schafer's name. She was in it.
Udo Kier, and the other is a German actor who's done like a ton of work
and
the
all of their
States, in Hollywood
faces
as well.
were just so realistic, and
Yeah,
that's something that he's done with these with Death Stranding, is that he got models of famous people, and he had, whether the famous person was up to it, that like Norman Reedus played himself in that game. Not he didn't play Norman Reedus, but he did the scan and did the voice work. But people like Del Toro, he just did the body scan, and then they had someone else come in and do the voice work. And it's the same with a lot of other ones. He had a lot of cameos of people that he is friends with pop up in the game, and that's sort of him connecting the outside world to the game. And obviously the Stranding's all about connecting, and you can go watch a bazillion video essays on how and what Death Stranding is about, but it is all about connecting a world, yada yada yada. That's exciting. So I do think that Norman Reedus could perform in the movie, but I'm open for something else, you know, just throwing it out there, like, I don't know, just a random actor to play a lead character, Chris Pratt maybe, just throwing out random names, Timothée Chalamet maybe, I don't know, just trying to think of just random actors that haven't really got the chance to do their lead performance well, so that's just me throwing out some random and not Chris Pratt visually, like Norman Reedus, but Chris Pratt doing the voice of Norman Reedus in the film.
But then also the character is Italian, so he's doing an Italian Norman Reedus.
Yep.
That's great. Timothée Chalamet would be so funny because it's like a lot of it is walking around, right, with like it, and you got to carry shit, and it's Timothy, and he's got one bag. He's like, oh, that's my limit.
That's everything. Yeah.
But yeah, there's some other A24 news. Going forward, I think starting in 2024. I don't know when the deal is set to start. Everything that is in theaters will now have its place after the theatrical release on Max, not HBO Max. It's called Max now, and all of the related streaming services. It says like HBO Max or Cinemax, because I don't know what they'll stick with, but just everything that's like under the Warner Bros. Discovery umbrella, that's where the A24 movies will reside. And it's been like, I don't know how much they got for the deal, but like Sony, for example, is like a company that didn't like dilute, like put so much money into the losing games of the streaming wars, and instead sold their IP to mainly Netflix, but also sometimes some other streaming services, and has made like money back of their stuff, even if it didn't hit like to a huge success in cinemas. And I think that's a good thing to do. I don't know the deal specifically for A24, but that's another way to make money. And like they also don't distribute outside of the States. What they do internationally, A24 is I don't know about actually some of the English speaking markets. But I think what they sell is they sell the international distribution for their movies, and they're actually quite expensive. That's why like sometimes here in Switzerland we don't get A24 movies, even if they're like way bigger than some of the other smaller indie films, because the local distributors can't afford like an A24 type of deal. So it's going to be interesting to see where this company goes now that it wants to do bigger movies, bigger IP. And speaking of bigger, they're doing one with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who is set to star in his first A24 movie, directed by one of the Safdie brothers, Benny Safdie. The film will center around MMA fighter Mark Kerr during his peak era in the UFC as he struggles with addiction, winning, and love. That's all we got so far. This is really funny to me. Like, what do you think about this?
Sounds great to me. I think A24's growing up. They're in their like teenage rebellious years where they just want to blow a bunch of money and get ripped, because all they're doing right now is spending money and making boxing movies.
I guess, yeah, they also got that other movie. I think that's also the A24, right?
Iron Claw?
The Iron Claw. Yeah. So yeah.
Sign me up.
Interested.
I'm in.
I mean, it's Benny Safdie. I think Benny Safdie has done a ton of like so far.
And is this
really fun stuff?
The Rock's like uncut gems moment? Like, is this the moment where he performs, he acts, he doesn't like do the thing that he always does? Is this his uncut gems moment? I hope.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
Dude, I pray so hard that he just
I don't know if he can.
doesn't play The Rock. I think he can.
Yeah.
Well, no one thought
Yeah, I
Adam
mean, we'll
Sandler could
see.
do it.
Well, no, he had Punch Drunk Love and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I'm talking about before Punch Drunk Love.
Right. So you're saying, is this Dwayne The Rock Johnson's Punch Drunk Love with one of the Uncut Gems directors? So it's more, it just makes more sense to say is Uncut
Dwayne's
Gems woman.
acted before, right? It was just a CGI scorpion. That's the issue. So he can perform, right?
Yeah.
We just got to strip away his, you know. I want to see him work with like Werner Herzog. Wouldn't that be wild?
It would be so funny to
like
have those
they go
conversation.
deep into the jungle. He doesn't have his gym that can come with him. He doesn't have $1 bajillion behind him. Like Werner just takes him out into a jungle. They film a documentary and like make it a feature film, and that would be his moment.
This is the real life story of Jumanji, and he just takes him into. No, I can't do Werner Herzog, but he has such a distinctive voice. It's
yeah.
I love Werner Herzog. Yeah, that'd be great.
It's like
do you know anything?
It's like a clearly European David Attenborough. That's Werner Herzog's
Yeah,
voice, right?
yeah, that's a great way to
yeah. It's like it is an extremely European David Attenborough.
Yeah. Do you know anything about MMA and UFC? Do you watch any of that?
I watch an occasional fight here and there.
Now you're familiar with Mark Kerr? Do you know who that is?
No, maybe I do. Let me just search.
It's just I saw someone also say that Dwayne is just like 4 years younger than Mark Kerr is at the moment. So it's like interesting that he's like.
Oh right, yeah.
And I don't know when his peak era was. Yeah, I mean you can't get the guy to play himself. But Dwayne
the Smashing Machine Kerr. My gosh,
that's a mouthful.
15 wins, 11 losses. He was born in 68, age 54, 4 KOs, 7 submissions, 2 decisions, 2 others, and then losses was 6 KOs, 3 submissions. So yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, it seems to,
yeah, wow,
a good run. It seems to be also, centering around addiction and love, so all of the stuff around the ring as much as like being inside of it, I assume. But yeah, similar to the Iron Claw.
Yeah, probably gonna be set like early 2000s because his wins were all 97 till early 2000, and then from 2000 to 2009 it was all losses except for against Chuck.
I got a really important question to you. Like, when I have a really important question to you. Does Mark Kerr have hair?
Oh no.
No?
Well, not a lot.
That's disappointing.
Not a lot.
Okay. That sucks. Because I'd love to see, like, you said early 2000s. I was like, early 2000s, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And, like, those famous photos where he has,
yeah, that look. Yeah.
It would be very funny. But yeah, that's that. All right, let's speed run through some of these other news. Otherwise, this will be a news episode. Greta Gerwig has been appointed the jury president of the 77th Cannes Film Festival. That's nice, deserved. I'm sure she'll have a great selection for the Palme d'Or. It's usually like 6 people, I think, 5 or 6 people in the jury to decide those winners. Great pick there. Then Netflix expands their catalog of games with free GTA games, and even a Squid Game one is in the works. I tested some of this out. You go on Netflix, then you download the game. It puts you to like the App Store or whatever you're using, and then you can play it through Netflix. And I actually like have a variety of games that you'd have to pay for, and it's like the mobile game version. It's actually not that bad. I don't know why exactly. No, I get why they're doing it. They want to maximize the time that people spend like in the app. I probably assume that counts towards it. And it looks great on their like reports, if the numbers keep going up, and they're not actually going up from watching stuff, but if they add gaming to it, maybe they can get it. And there's no like in-app purchases and all of that. You get it through the subscription that you have. And to me, obviously they have like the only streaming service that kind of makes money at the moment. But overall, this is kind of a win for the consumer at the moment. I kind of like this. I don't really have a lot to criticize. Maybe someone who's more in the gaming sphere world could point out something that's wrong about this, but I kind of like it. I think it's not bad. And it was a joke at the start, but like they have some pretty solid games on here now. But yeah, Lachlan, what do you think?
Yeah, I haven't played much, but yeah. I'm a real gamer. I have a PC.
Yeah, I mean, I got some of the games that I now downloaded on this already on here, and I was like, well, maybe sometimes when you don't have your whole PC set up, you can use this, and it's actually like, yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah. Right?
But yeah, the nominations for the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice are out, but honestly, we're doing our own award show. We don't really care. The only thing to note here is that after the controversy that the Globes had, they somehow, in my opinion, had the way better picks than the Critics' Choice, which is so funny to me. Like, the critics had some really obvious and kind of boring, bland choices, and nominated Barbie for a record high 18 nominations, which is so
wow.
Crazy. And the Globes had like a better variety overall, but honestly, overall, who the fuck cares if it gets you to watch the shows and then the movies? That's great, but in itself, yeah, these are kind of vain. So that's it for the news this week. It takes 5 seconds to drop us a rating over on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and it's greatly appreciated. Gets the podcast out there. And if you're watching on YouTube on the video side, then leave a rating and consider subscribing to the channel. Yes, we really appreciate it. All right, we don't have time for discussion time this week, so we're gonna skip over that. Maybe we'll do like a supersized one next week, but let's get to the stuff that we've been watching. And I know, Lachlan, you haven't really watched anything. I did see you did start to play Dave the Diver. I did kind of stalk you on Steam.
Yes.
Have you been enjoying the couple hours you've played of that game?
I have. I don't know if I said last week, but I made my list of like movies, TV shows,
66
games.
or something like that.
I'm trying to make my way through a bunch of stuff. This week I am all over the place, so I don't really have time to kind of like sit down and watch something. So I've been playing like little bits of this game, Dave the Diver, and it makes me want to get one of those handheld gaming things like a Steam Deck or something, like bad, because that game would run so perfectly on this. But I've just discovered that Netflix has the game Dead Cells, which I absolutely enjoy playing, and it's called Netflix Edition, and I'm downloading it right now. So whilst you go through all of your movies, I'm going to give this a try.
Great. So he's not disinterested if he's looking down at his crotch. He's actually just gaming. That's fine. I want to live vicariously through your gaming experience, because I also don't really find the time, because I'm like, let's watch a bazillion movies for no really reasonable reason. But I did rewatch the first Chicken Run movie. Because there's a new one out now on Netflix, and that was initially going to be a discussion time, like that company running out of clay, and if there's a future for claymation. I think the first Chicken Run really had like tapped into something where it was actually like super scary for being a kids movie. I know a lot of people that, like, when I saw it for the first time and now rewatched it like years later, I still had certain imagery like ingrained in my memory, because like the imagination you got like from them just shredding these chickens is so horrible. And I mean, I don't eat meat now, so maybe it's all attributed to Chicken Run. I don't know, but the second one I think is like the typical sequel that you can expect. I don't think it has like a big reason to exist. It definitely suffers from that type of generic sequel beat where they've overcome something great in the first movie. So when they have another obstacle in the next one, they're like, oh no, we're about to do this again, shit. And there's no real stakes, because they obviously don't want to do it in the first place, but it's so built on not just the in-universe success that they had of breaking up, but it's more also that this was culturally relevant. So in character, it doesn't really make sense as much as they're like hyped for themselves to do it again. It's more like, hey, we're doing a sequel. That's why like we're so hyped up about this. So I don't know if that made any sense, but that's just my feelings about it. Another animated film, Migration from Illumination. Is similar to, I guess, Chicken Run, because it's a bunch of ducks who fly to the south. Usually they would just stay because the dad is so afraid that anything would happen to them, and he needs to be brave and go on a trip with his and then it's just like basically not a road trip, but I guess flying over the road trip for these ducks, and they have like similar run-ins of almost getting snacked up and used for meat consumption in that, but it's not really funny. The movie is just not funny, and it's got that typical Illumination. It's just the most obvious thing that you can expect. Like a bunch of, I don't know, over the top people getting beat up type of humor that they do all the time. And yeah, I don't like it. Then Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour is now on sale for $19.89, because that's a reference. It's actually quite a lot of money to watch this, but I think this was like a really big cultural moment when this 3-hour movie played at the same time as like Oppenheimer was playing. Even though Oppenheimer is incredibly loud, somehow the Swifties were louder in the other theater. I get it though. I think this is a great experience. I think the overall like filmmaking behind it of capturing the performance is like decent. They got a lot of cameras, they got a lot of angles, but my God, the way she does a 3-hour long performance without any breaks is incredibly impressive. Like, you might not vibe with the music as much. There's like some songs that I knew, some stuff that didn't. I think this was the longest period of time where I consecutively listened to Taylor Swift. But it was quite hype to see how excited people were, and yeah, for any Taylor Swift fan, I think this is a fun experience as a substitute if you didn't got to experience the tour yourself. I think she's still coming to Australia, right? I think that's one of her upcoming tours.
Maybe.
Or that already happened. I don't remember. But yeah. And then in preparation, lastly, for Wonka this week, I watched the other two films from Paul King that people have been raving about. And I just hadn't got around to see Paddington 1 and 2. I know that the second one is like crowned as one of the best family movies of all time, and I mean, I'd agree. I think the first one is fine. I think it has like towards the end I think the first half of it is way funnier, and once it kind of steps into certain plot points that it wants to get to, I think it kind of loses me a bit. But Paddington 2 is just so sweet, and whenever you feel like there might be a dip where it goes down, there's just another like incredibly charming performance in here. I think Ben Whishaw is great as Paddington, but then in this one you also have Hugh Grant, who is this might be the most fun I've ever had with a Hugh Grant performance, and I've liked him in a lot of stuff, but what he gets to do here, he seems to be enjoying himself a lot, which I can't say about Wonka. Yeah, just a fun movie all around. I can recommend both of those films. Even if you're not a kid, I think you'll take a lot of joy out of them. But yeah, that's all the stuff that I've been watching this week. So Lachlan, I don't know, should I leave you a couple more minutes? Are you gaming Dead Cells right now? Are you busy?
Can do it. It's running okay. It's
okay.
Actually, it's not running. I honestly can't.
What's
touch controls.
Okay, I was about to say, like, does it just like have a buffer?
It's actually really annoying to use touch controls.
But Dead Cells?
It's okay.
Yeah,
I
haven't played that game. Yeah.
I played it ages ago and I really enjoyed it, but yeah, man, this is a pain in the ass to play like this.
Yeah, not all games make sense on. Actually, most games don't make sense on touchscreen.
What I will say is that I can connect a controller up to this and probably use it that way, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like,
yeah, you can also
Resident
play
Evil
it on a tablet. Oh, okay. Yeah, you can also play it on a tablet. I saw that I can also download it on there. So Yeah, you can play it on a bigger screen, not on the TV though, which, I mean, unless you got a touch TV, then maybe you can go touch it. Anyways, let's talk about Wonka.
With dreams of opening a shop in a city renowned for its chocolate, a young and poor Willy Wonka discovers. Jesus.
Scubbies.
A young and poor. Okay, let's start from the top. With dreams of opening a shop in a city renowned for its chocolate, a young and poor Willy Wonka discovers that the industry is run by a cartel of greedy chocolatiers.
Oh, how dare they gatekeep chocolatiering, I guess.
Bastards.
This comes from Paul King, who I just mentioned it, what we've been watching, the director of Paddington 1 and 2. Yeah, I think that's probably his most notable credits that he has. And he gives us this whimsical prequel adaptation of the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory story in about 117 minutes, so a little less than 2 hours. The film has been received quite positively so far. Not as well as some of the Paddington films, but certainly better than the expectations were when we got that first trailer and that got memed into oblivion, and everyone thought that, like, oh my god, Timothée Chalamet, this is not working at all for you, which we can talk about if it actually ends up working, or maybe there's some truth to that. But on Letterboxd, there's a 3.5 for it currently. On IMDb, a 7.4, and on Metacritic, it's a bit lower, a 66. The movie had a budget of 125 million, which I think is well spent. You can see that there's a lot of CGI, a lot of production design that goes into it. And then, of course, Timmy's fee is probably pretty high right now because he could be riding on the back of a sandworm, but instead he's making chocolate. So far, it's also been doing quite well. I don't know well enough, not a box office expert, but it's been out a week before internationally, before it came out in the States. Now it's looking like a decent opening for the States, but we don't have the numbers yet, and it's made over 40 million worldwide. And yeah, it comes from Warner Bros. Studio, a bunch of greedy chocolatiers themselves, but in the filmmaking space. And we're gonna talk about this film in full-on spoiler fashion, so if you haven't seen it, then go see it. I think it's a recommendation on my end. If you like musicals, it's pretty fun. It's got a bit of heart to it. I think the Paul King isms come through well enough to make this worth your time. Let's talk about it in full-on spoiler fashion. Did you like Wonka or not?
Yes, I did. And I have to admit, it's first film in a while that's made me enjoy it from start to finish. It's
okay.
The same feeling I had when I watched Paddington. I just couldn't help but smile. It was just the Wonka has the same innocence that Paddington has, and I found it, they kind of do it both physically in his performance, but also they say it to the audience. I can't read, but I just try to take from the kindness of others, and that immediately makes you go, okay, he is a golden retriever who is innocent, has done nothing wrong, and he's just trying to do the best for people's interests. And that makes you like him a whole lot more, especially because we've had many renditions of Willy Wonka. When I say many, two. But those two performances, they come across as quite an alienated character. So the first thing Timothée Chalamet has to do is make everyone forget about the previous performances from Gene Wilder, from Johnny Depp, and create his own Wonka. And I think he does a fantastic job.
Yeah, I wouldn't say this is like a full-on... I don't know if it works, if it's actually supposed to be in the same universe and a prequel to the Gene Wilder performance here. Because I don't really see the parallels. That movie is has an underrunning darker theme, and this one certainly doesn't have that. I think this Willy Wonka is it's eerily similar to Paddington in that way.
Yeah.
Like the golden retriever thing. It also has like some similar beats of him meeting the it's not the Smith family, the Brown family in Paddington. And he also has like a sort of family when he's stuck at that hotel that he makes, that like people who are who are just cheering for him and that they're like here for him as well, help him out. I don't think it works as well in this because it's not as natural family as these others, as in Paddington, when he just comes and he needs the help and he's like in a new place. Here, I think you never really get a sort of grip on Timothée Chalamet's character, because he's just so, he seems he's really naive in this, and that golden retriever energy, like he doesn't know any better. He just like simply wants to live the dream of bringing the best chocolate possible out there, and it makes him, I think, a less interesting character than what he turns into later on. But that, I don't think, is what Paul King and the movie is interested in. It just wants to create these special moments that make you smile, and I did smile a whole bunch. I think there's some things that work better than others. To me, Keegan-Michael Key as the chief of police might have been the funniest thing in this movie.
Yeah.
He's like, as he just progressively gets fatter, as he gets more and more corrupt. And like, I think it visualizes a lot of like interesting themes really easily to a younger audience as well. Like why, like what a bribe is. I couldn't explain to a kid what a bribe is, but after they've seen this movie, they know what a bribe is. If someone gives me chocolate, then I do something for them. And I think that has like so much intrinsic value to be able to communicate that within a story, not bringing it to a halt and saying, hey, this is the moral of the story. It loses me in some other, like, it's ultimately not like aimed to be maybe a character study on Wonka, which is maybe something I'm always craving, but that's just my fault. I also like musicals. I don't think the musical parts are great. I didn't like them, in my opinion. I don't know how you felt about it. Does it work for you?
I think there are elements that are good, but I don't think it ever reaches that level of greatness. Yeah. I think it would have worked better with some more interesting choreography. I just felt that they were never to the same level as the rest of the film. I felt that the humor was awesome between a lot of the characters, especially in Screwbit and Bleacher. Like the duo of Tom Davis and Olivia Colman was really funny every time they were on screen. Especially Olivia Colman, she absolutely kills it. But Tom Davis was his very low voice and just blunt delivery of lines that are quite dark was an enjoyable duo to watch. But it's the same with Slugworth, Prodnose, Fickle Grubber, like those three characters of evil, how they all kind of work off of each other was exciting. So it never felt like it was just a one-man show with it being called Wonka. But that's also, as you said, it's not so much a character study, and that's a bit unfortunate because Wonka is a very interesting character that you don't really get much more other than he's a good guy that wants to make chocolate and wants his dead mama's love again. And cool, for a kid's movie, that's A-okay. But I agree, I was smiling the entire time.
It comes at an expense though. He's this whimsical guy who is also kind of mysterious because he can do stuff, and then he's also sometimes, what can he do? What are the restrictions? And you never really dive into that because we are not spending, like, obviously we're spending a bunch of time in his proximity. I wouldn't say we take his perspective, and to get like a more neutral perspective that we can root for, someone who hasn't all the capabilities and is kind of a surrogate for us, we do get the like a child character, Noodle, in here. It's like, oh, I choked up when I said child because I was like, child performance. I don't like it. And I didn't love it here. I think it was something that we needed to get the story that we're telling along. But it didn't really do much for me, especially because it was also repeating the beats that it did from Wonka. And it needed that back and forth, right, to develop him. Because then he would open up. Otherwise, why would he open up other than, like, going into, I don't know, he just starts narrating his life to people, which he does plenty of, to be honest. And it needed a bit more of that heart. And I didn't find ultimately that came from Noodle. But instead, that final moment, so big spoilers here, it's right after he survived that, like, thing of almost being drowned. And he opens the thing from his mother, and it's like it's really cheesy, but it's somehow it somehow works. It's crazy that a simple note like that really worked for me, where it goes like it's not about like how you make the chocolate, it's who you share it with or something like that. And then he sees Sally Hawkins, who's his mother, in the crowd, and it's like, damn. He nails those emotional endings, even if I didn't feel as much for the character, like, in between, where just like a silly goof who's a bit naive, but we still love him. Same in here, as in Paddington, with Wonka, and I look at her and her expression, and then she vanishes, and I'm like, damn, okay, you got me really close to shedding some tears here, because it's so beautiful to see, like, his dreams coming to actuality and turning out to be a different thing, having found a place in the world, which is ultimately what he wants, not just to make the chocolate, but to share it with people. And it's, again, another really nice lesson that you can turn to, that even younger kids can take away from it, you know? It's all about, like, your family and the people you share someone with, other than, like, just having it on its own. It's nice. I liked it. It's sweet. It's pretty sweet.
And I guess that's what makes this film flow. It's sweet. It's little moments like that make the film a higher rating than what it would have been if those moments weren't made by Paul King. And I guess Paul King knows how to really construct a moment. I just felt that maybe he was a little bit out of his depth with these musical numbers. Maybe he was a little bit out of his depth with a more beloved character. Like, Paddington has its place, but I wouldn't say Paddington has its place with a modern audience. Most people know who Willy Wonka is, whether it's the Gene Wilder version, whether it's the Johnny Depp version. I think everyone was raised on, at this point, everyone was raised on a Willy Wonka / Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie by Ronald Dahl. Yeah. Now, he's reintroducing it to a new generation, but he's not doing the same story. So there are going to be critiques, and there's going to be people criticizing the story that he's making, and it could have just been a bit too much. Paddington is an innocent character, and you could really do anything with that story and not piss off that many people. But with Willy Wonka, immediately that trailer came out, and everyone was like, nah, this ain't it, Chief. This ain't it.
Not
this
my
is
Wonka.
Not my Wonka. And
not my Wonka, you wanker.
Yeah. Boom, there you got him roasted. You just roasted Paul King. Well done, man. But the thing is, I was still smiling, and that's something interesting. Is that even these little moments that were great, the moments in between that weren't awesome, and those musical numbers that honestly didn't have to be there, but still had some interesting aspects to them, were all just a good mash in the end. And that's honestly a compliment, is that I wasn't expecting much from this movie, but this movie delivered more than it had to for what I wanted out of it. And sure, we can obviously say that we would love Timothée Chalamet's Wonka to be more in depth, but it's fucking Timothée Chalamet who's playing it, right? He doesn't really play the deepest of characters, but he does a good enough job for us to be engaged with.
I mean, he plays a good twink. We've seen that before.
Jesus fucking Christ.
He delivers on that.
Sure. Okay. Boom. There you go.
And like he can deliver that like final note emotion as well. We saw that in Call Me by Your Name, sitting by the fire.
Look, I'm not saying he's a bad actor. I'm just saying, he ain't no fucking.
I don't think this was a good choice.
I mean, he's our next Leo. He's our next Leo. I said this way ages ago that he is young Leonardo DiCaprio right now, and then eventually he will do his Revenant, eventually he'll do his Departed, eventually he'll do his Titanic, which it could be Dune. Dune could be his Titanic, but he's on his path where he's currently playing these characters that have character to them but aren't that in-depth, and then he's eventually going to get straight into the method acting. But it's once he's 40 and he's dating people half his age.
That's great. You could tag him along to Jake Gyllenhaal to tie that back to Taylor Swift. I don't know if Leo was ever someone who was like a big heartthrob to people. And I know he did like Titanic, which is a romance film.
What the fuck are you on about, dude? He was a heartthrob for everybody.
Well, he also played someone with he was in Gilbert Grape, and he played someone who had like a mental thing. And I don't know about his early career, but it certainly wasn't as big as Timothy's. I think Timmy is like in a different. I don't know. I feel like this is an entirely new type of movie star. No,
Come on.
Okay, I don't know how old he is.
He was a movie star.
Very young at that.
He's a movie star. Look at him. He's so white in that picture. Like this is a dude who is he was killing
I'm
it,
not saying
right?
I'm not saying Timothy is not going to have those roles, but I don't know if I see him on a similar trajectory.
Romeo and Juliet. Let's be real. That's when he stole everyone's hearts.
Yeah, that's okay. I couldn't get through that one because they say everything in rhymes, and it was so goddamn annoying to me that I couldn't get past like 10 minutes of that movie. I have to give it another try. But you're right. Okay. I take it back. I still don't think in this movie I don't know. I don't have an alternative casting. Maybe you have that, but I don't think he particularly works that well because he's also not someone who's like really good at singing and dancing. That's just doesn't seem to be his background.
Yeah.
And you can kind of feel that. And Gene Wilder was such an incredibly talented person overall. I wouldn't say the same about Johnny Depp's portrayal of that character. Like he had so much that he brought to it, and I feel like Timothy delivered as much as Paul King needed of him, and the page needed of him, the film needed of him. But to go that extra step to like make the character truly iconic, I don't think that he did that. We're still gonna point to Gene Wilder as the quintessential Willy Wonka at the end of the day.
I guess the only alternative casting that I could think could probably do a good job. I was gonna make a Chris Pratt joke again, but I've already done that joke today. Serious casting, right?
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield. Dude can sing, dude can dance, and has the physique of a young Willy Wonka, and he could bring some interesting depth to the character. And I reckon Andrew Garfield would kill it.
I think he would as well. I don't have a better option than that. I think it's a great choice. You also wrote down that I had the same feeling. There's so little, pun intended, of Hugh Grant, right? There's not a lot of him.
Yeah, especially because he was so prominent in the trailers. But yeah, I get most of his jokes were already in the trailers, so most of his performances weren't that like interesting to me because I've already seen the jokes that he was delivering. But yeah, I guess I don't care that much. It's not an Oompa Loompa origin story for Wonka. It's Wonka had friends before he went insane in his locked up asylum castle, and he took an Oompa Loompa hostage in the body of Hugh Grant. So yeah, it sucks that there was less Hugh Grant because even though it seemed like he hated the role, he was absolutely brilliant at delivering his lines that were just so fucking hardcore. It was fun, but yes, I think that Keegan-Michael Key was definitely top. I think Hugh Grant, Oompa Loompa, was a very close second, but we just didn't have enough of him to make me really, really enjoy it. But I feel like maybe he hated it after all of the comments he's made after the film.
Yeah, he's been vocal about it. That like I can understand because you are in for a role that is a lot of it is CGI. I don't know how much, probably like makeup. I don't know how much makeup, but then basically his whole body is disconnected. And animated, and for an actor to not have, like, especially delivering on comedy, to not know, like, physically, that's a big part of how that character's comedy works.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel like you got a grip on that, a handle on that, and then you just hand it off, I can see why that's really frustrating. And yeah, that they didn't know as well, like, couldn't give him an answer while he was performing. I totally understand why he hated that. I think he doesn't have that many more scenes than Rowan Atkinson, who like plays the priest.
Yeah.
It's also very funny, like a smaller role that I think is very funny, like the priest.
But delivers.
It's like,
and it's because he's a great comedian, and he's great with physical comedy, and he's especially great with facial expressions. And I feel like Hugh Grant, like, his facial expressions aren't to the same level as Rowan Atkinson, but if he was given his body, he might be able to do something a bit better.
Hugh Grant has great reaction faces. I think.
He does. Well, very blunt reaction faces.
Yeah. He's, to me, he might be the MVP of Paddington 2. I think he's that great in it. In this, I just wanted a bit more of him, especially because they leave it kind of on the end of like, hey, low-key sequel baiting. I don't know how you felt about this, but I thought like they were kind of like, oh, more adventures to come. And yeah, the final reveal of like they wanted to have that moment that feels like a producer's note of like, hey, by the end of this, we do need to see the chocolate factory, the ones that we had in the original, like the chocolate factory, Willy Wonka and the chocolate factory. Can we show that? And they do like a big CGI thing. It isn't as magical when it's all just like, here's the stuff. It's all magic. So I didn't really like the ending. Like you said, there's a lot of moments that will make you smile. There's a lot of moments where you also feel like, okay, let's get on with it. This isn't working. We're still in the musical number. That's that. I'm giving the film a 3.5 out of 5. I think I'm still pretty positive on it. What about you, Lachlan?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. Through our discussion, I agree with all of your points, and I brought my rating down to 3.5 stars. But I want to go with my gut, because even though I agree, I still think I had a great time, and I could just ignore that stuff, because the world does transport me in. Paul King does a great job of that. And yes, there are some issues with it. There are some hopes that we had, but I don't think it is to the detriment of the film. I think the film still stands on its own 2 feet. I still think that compared to what we got previously, it's a better performance of Wonka. I don't really like Johnny Depp's performance of Wonka. Let's be real.
Yeah, me neither.
It's not that great. But
it's not that great.
Gene Wilder absolutely killed it. There will be no one that could top that, but I think Timmy does a pretty okay job at bringing this titular character to life. And if there is a Wonka 2, okay, I would love fuck you.
It is the new Joker,
directed by Todd Phillips. But I would love
a musical again.
More Wonka, just more Wonka. Give me like a character study of Wonka. Give me a character study. Him, Hugh Grant. 2 hours of just them talking.
It would be very funny. You know how Joker 2 is a musical, right? The next one. And they switch it. So this one is like the next one is a really serious character study. And it's just the inverse of Joker.
Perfect.
Anyways, if you were to pair this up with another film for a double feature, Lachlan, what would you go with?
As always, I never made a pick, so I have to make it live. Ewan, do you want to say yours to give me 2 minutes?
I don't know if I got 2 minutes for you, because mine is pretty straightforward. I'm just gonna go with the film that I watched this week as well, with Paddington. You can choose either one of them. Probably should start with the one to get the full picture. But you'll notice that these stories are really, really similar. And they kind of feel the same, but just with different characters. That's all I'll say. But which makes it maybe kind of the perfect double feature to kind of compare the two as well. And see if Paul King is just making the same movie over and over again, just like with different things placed in them.
Also, did I say my rating? I don't know if I said my rating. 4 stars, by the way. I'm giving it 4. I can't remember if I did or not.
You said no, you didn't say 4, but you said you You would decrease it, but you go back down.
I'm
so
giving
was
it 4
5.
stars. There's my 4
Right.
stars. I think it was pretty solid. So another movie that I gave 4 stars, and the big thing about this film is that there's a lot of chocolate. So you kind of like, if you don't have snacks when you're watching this movie, you're gonna get really hungry, and that's unfortunate. So I decided to do a pairing of a film that I gave 4 stars to, a movie where you're left feeling hungry, but maybe not feeling hungry after watching it, and also stars Timothée Chalamet that engulfed me into the film. I'm talking about Bones and All. I think it's going to be a perfect pairing of a double feature with Wonka.
I was trying so hard to figure out what movie you're talking about. I wasn't expecting that, but it's finger licking good, like to say at KFC. Anyways, there's a couple of new releases this week. Out on Netflix on December 20th is Maestro. You can now see it in theaters, but this coming Wednesday it is on streaming, and we'll try to catch that one as well. I already caught it. I think it's worth your time. A biopic that is a bit of a different kind of biopic that is worth seeing. So go give it a try. Then on December 22nd in the States and in Australia, I think as well, maybe a week later, you are getting Anyone But You. We've seen the viral trailers. It's set in Sydney, and Sydney Sweeney is in it, in Sydney, which is very exciting. So that's that. That movie is out from Sony. Then Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is finally releasing. We looked earlier looked at Fandango's most anticipated blockbusters, and that was among them. This movie still has not come out yet. Something that's really interesting to note here is that usually for press screenings, which I haven't had my typical flex of the episode yet. I do get to attend those.
You have. I just want to point it out.
Okay. Well, fair. I mean, it doesn't count if you don't point it out. It's like you missed it. But this movie is out right next week. Usually the press screening is like the week before or in the same week, but at least you get an invite to the screening so you can have it in your schedule. Warner Bros. Has not sent out any invitations, and sometimes if a movie is really, really bad, they set the embargo date right up to like the release, or they don't do a screening at all, which seems to be a case for Aquaman, which is interesting that they're like this, like so not confident in it that I haven't heard anything about like what people think of it, because they just haven't been screening it for people. So that's going to be interesting. Not going to be our main review for next week. Then The Iron Claw, the A24 film, is going into, I think, a wider release in the States, and will have a gradual rollout worldwide. I'll get to see that one to flex again in a press screening this week, so I will be reporting back next week on what I thought of it. Migration, I got to see that one early, that's why I talked about it this week, but I can't stop with the flexes. It's out in theaters now, and then we haven't really heard anything about this as well. What If Season 2 is also going to start premiering. I think they have like 7 episodes that are going to release day after day, but I feel like Marvel has lost a lot of its steam, so not a lot of excitement for that going around at the moment. Then on December 25th, we are getting George Clooney's The Boys on the Boat, in the States only. I don't know if I got a release date, but it's an Amazon production, so sooner or later that will end up on Prime. Also, The Color Purple is coming out, and Ferrari. So lots of Oscar contenders as well that are releasing in that last week to get in to the deadline of like, hey, this movie's out in theaters. This is a 2023 release. Let's give it some 2023 awards. And then in limited release, I wanted to highlight a couple of movies like All of Us Strangers. We'll cover that movie, I think, in February. Memory, a movie I can recommend that I got to see in Venice. Go seek it out if you can. Freud's Last Session. I haven't really heard about that one too much, but it's Anthony Hopkins in it, so there might be something to it. Society of the Snow, it's having its theatrical limited run before it's out on Netflix early in January. Then Occupied City from Steve McQueen is out in theaters. Like when we earlier went through all of the showtimes that your theater had. For this one, it's probably just going to be the one, and it's taking up the whole day because this movie is like over 4 hours long. Yeah, probably not a movie to go see in theaters unless you are like ready with some caffeinated drinks for the whole time. And I don't know if they'll have like an intermission. We got an intermission in Cannes, I don't know if like an intermission they do that. Probably for a movie of this length they do that, but we'll see. Then the Teachers Lounge, the German submission for the Oscars this year, is also playing in limited release, and I think you can also already rent it in some places. So if you don't have it in a theater near you, I've only heard great things about it. Haven't had the chance to see it myself, but that's out there. And then finally, the biggest highlight of the week for me, for anyone who's from Switzerland, Perfect Days, my favorite movie of the year from Wim Wenders, is coming to theaters this week as well. So hopefully that's on your radar now, and go give it a chance. I can fully recommend it. All right. Lots of stuff to watch. But next week, we'll actually be chatting about another film that I didn't even mention that's coming out. Because on December 21st, Zack Snyder is back with the first part in his, I guess, rejected take on Star Wars that he's now just doing on Netflix. And Rebel Moon Part 1. I don't actually have the subtitle here, but there is a very cool subtitle that this movie has. It's great. But we'll be chatting about that one next week. So in the meantime, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe on our channel. Leave a rating on the podcast app of choice. Helps us reach new listeners. And we'll be back next week. But we got to go make some chocolate, Lachlan.
Yes.
Chocolatiers. As a Swiss man, that's what we do with our free time. We just go make chocolate in some factory.
And cheese.
Well, not as much cheese.
Swiss cheese.
There's two categories of people, you know. There's the chocolatiers and there's the cheesers, and they fight. There's a civil war sometimes with those.
Of course.
All right, bye.
Bye.